Welcome back to AP World History. We are examining World War II in Chapter 30. The first part of the war goes badly for the Allies. It isn't really going to be until the middle of 1942 that things will turn towards the Allies' favor. Here we're showing the occupation of France after it fell in June by the Germans and also the Vichy government. The Vichy government was apparently allied to Germany. British defenses, after they are defeated on the continent and they escape Dunkirk, we have what they call the Battle of Britain. This is an air war fought over the English Channel and over Great Britain. The Germans trying to knock out the air defenses of Great Britain. The British know that this is a battle for life and death. The Nazis, if they control the air, will then launch an invasion from the continent. Nazi forces will drive the Soviets out of Finland, Poland, and the Baltic states by 1941. The Great Britain is going to prevail on the Battle of Britain, this air war, and this will stall the invasion of the German forces into Great Britain. Winston Churchill is the Prime Minister during World War II for the British. Now Britain is all alone, and he's going to say that they're going to fight to the last man. This is the Blitz, the Battle of Britain, and the British pilots are with superior airplanes, fighter planes are going to prevail. And this shows people huddling in the subway system during the Blitz, the bombing, and the attacks on London and other cities in Great Britain. Never, never, never give up, as this is the motto. Let us go forward together, even if they stand alone. Winston Churchill is receiving aid from the United States. FDR knows it's just a matter of time before they will be involved in the war. We see ourselves allied with democracies, particularly Great Britain, and in 1941 we will get involved in the war after the Japanese attack Pearl Harbor, and we will be allies to Great Britain. Even before the war, the Atlantic Charter is signed between FDR and Great Britain, calling for a look at the nations after the war has been solved. Foundation of the UN is laid in the Atlantic Charter, but we clearly are going to give aid and comfort to Great Britain. Eventually, the peace between the Soviet Union and Germany will come to an end in 1941, and the Germans will quickly march across the western part of the Soviet Union. They will be at the gates of Moscow, Leningrad, and also Stalingrad. At the Battle of Stalingrad, the Germans are halted outside the capital of Moscow. They'll be stopped and eventually turned back. And by 1944, the German forces are back to Poland. This shows the assault of Stalingrad and Battle of Moscow. In AP World, they do not put too much emphasis on military victories and battles and so forth. They're looking more at the causes of war and the results of war. The Battle of Stalingrad, you can see that there were a number of people involved in this fight, 1 million or so on both sides. Certainly a number of artillery pieces, tanks, and planes. Here shows the main theaters of World War II, and you can see in Europe and you can see in Asia. Most of Africa, South America, North America are not going to be involved in this war. India was not involved, although they were a possession of Great Britain, and Indians will fight on the British side. 1942, Nazis call for the final solution, that is, the elimination of the Jewish race. 6 million Jews will be killed in concentration camps before the end of the war. They're deemed undesirables, and they either are starved to death, worked to death, or gassed. As many as 12 million people were murdered in the Holocaust, but the Jewish people will be half of that. Notable, among other things, for the degree to which it was permeated, it was a systematic destruction of the Jewish people, and the Germans kept meticulous records of what they had done. This shows forced labor, Jewish prisoners burying other prisoners, people receiving tattoos to keep track of who they were. Many were not even given tattoos. At Auschwitz, the children and women and babies were separated from those who could work and immediately gassed, burned up, and their ashes buried. This Zyklon B was an efficient way that the Germans found of destroying the Jewish people. The SS, the Gestapo, the Nazis, rounding up Jews throughout Europe and systematically executing them. This shows a German soldier shooting a man in the back of the head, and then he falls into a trench, and then they bury this. These show some of the ovens that were used to burn up the bodies after they were gassed. These show some of the places where the death camps and work camps are located, Auschwitz being the most famous. Estimated at 1.5 million people died there.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will, in infamy, the United States of America was suddenly attacked by naval forces of the Empire of Japan. The United States competes with that nation, and the fate of Japan was still in conversation with its government and looking.
There was FDR commenting after the attack by the Japanese in December 7th on a Sunday. Several thousand Americans were killed, battleships were sunk, and the United States will be in World War II. 3 days after we declare war on Japan, Germany and Italy, because of their tripartite agreement, will declare war on the United States. Allied forces will be under the command of Dwight Eisenhower, and the United States will systematically build up forces in Great Britain, and then on D-Day, June 6th, the Allied forces, the Canadians, the British, French, and Americans will invade northern France. By 1945, they have invaded Germany. The Soviet Union will capture Berlin, the capital of Germany. In 1942, Al Alamein is a turning point in North Africa. This is where Montgomery halts Rommel. This shows a picture of the Normandy landing in June 6th. You can see here German soldiers on the left, and the Higgins landing craft taking American boys ashore. 1944, the U.S. will march into Paris and liberate it. VE Day is the day victory in Europe, and the Germans will surrender. Keitel is the German who signs the surrender. Japan will continue on. We will be systematically trying to push the Japanese back to the homeland, island hopping in the Pacific. Japan had conquered territories, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Burma, Indonesia, the Philippines, and we will have to extract the Japanese forces from those areas. But eventually we will turn the tide, and we will defeat the Japanese. This shows a picture of the British troops surrendering at Singapore in 1942. At Corregidor on the Philippines, the Americans will surrender. Um, no help from the United States, and these men will be brutally treated by the Japanese, and many of them will die. And you can see here the Battle of Midway will be a significant turning point in the middle of 1942. We will turn back the Japanese fleet. We will have victories in the Coral Sea and Guadalcanal, and we will systematically move towards Japan, and eventually they will come to their knees when we drop the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The Allies will drop leaflets saying that they're going to destroy Hiroshima, and hundreds of thousands of people will die there, as well in Nagasaki. Many were killed because of radiation poisoning. Japan will surrender in August 15th, 1945. Leaders from the Axis powers and the Allied powers met on several occasions after the war, these former Axis powers, to build a lasting peace. The UN is started in 1945 in San Francisco, and then the headquarters later moved to New York. The United States and several others will be on the Security Council. Primarily, the United Nations is created to settle international disputes. Unfortunately, it has been pretty much a failure, as was the League of Nations. One of the things that we're going to talk about in the next chapter is the Cold War, and this will take place between the Soviet Union, Great Britain, and the United States being opposed to Great Britain, or the Soviet Union. Even though the Soviets were our allies during World War II, our relationship will sour, and we will be at odds with the Soviet Union for the next 70 years. Many of the independent nations that had been created in 1918 are restored in Eastern Europe, but fall under the domination of the Soviet Union. And the Warsaw countries, Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Poland, East Germany, Lithuania, all of these countries will come under the domination of the Soviets, the communists. Germany will be divided into West and East, and there'll be 4 zones occupied by the United States, Great Britain, France, and the Soviet Union. And we'll stop right there and pick this